Hello, my name is Chrissy Hodges, and I am here today to talk to you, in particular loved ones, or people in the lives of people who are suffering from OCD, or in general, maybe people who just don't understand OCD and how OCD manifests with people. I'm here today to talk to you about, from a peer perspective, so someone who's living with OCD, answering some of the most common questions that I hear when I'm working with people who live with OCD as a peer support that they get from loved ones, that they can't quite give them an answer that's satisfying. So I want to clear some of those things up, and how I want this video to be intended to use is if your family has questions about OCD, intrusive thoughts, pure OCD, all of this is a great video for them to watch in order to get some perspective on what it feels like to go through this. So first, who am I? My name is Chrissy. I'm the author of Pure OCD, The Invisible Side of Obsessive Compulsive Disorder. I'm a certified peer support specialist here in Colorado, and I work worldwide with individuals living with OCD to support them and normalize their experience. And I also do consultations to connect them with therapists that can help. My company also owns a government contract that recruits, hires, and supervises peer supports in the state institutions of Colorado. Yes. Anyway, so I'm here today to talk about some of the top questions that I hear in working with people in regards to, I kind of don't understand what OCD is like, and I'll give you the questions. This is how the format's going to go. I'm going to give you the questions. Then I'm going to talk a little bit about those questions from the lived experience. Then I'm going to talk about some things that you can say to people with OCD that are helpful and not helpful. And also just a little bit of a motto at the very end that you can remember when you're helping support or listening to someone who's living with OCD. If you keep this motto in mind, you can be more helpful than hurtful. The questions that I want to address today are not really questions, but kind of statements that family and loved ones and individuals wanting to learn more about OCD is, I don't understand why you get these thoughts. 2, I don't understand why you say it's so bad when I see you daily and you seem fine. It doesn't seem like it would be so bad. Just don't think about it, or just don't give the thoughts meaning. And then I want to go into the helpful versus non-helpful, and then the motto. So first I want to talk about, I don't understand why you get these thoughts. Well, you would join the ranks of all of us that have OCD. We don't understand why we get the thoughts either, and that's why they're so tormenting. What I like to tell people when they ask me this is, I like to say, well, I don't understand why, someone could go into a coma when they have diabetes. Well, you know why? Because I don't understand how a pancreas works. I can trust, though, that when someone has a malfunctioning pancreas, that a doctor knows how to help and diagnose and treat diabetes. And that's how they get better and manage it. So I don't want to take any of that away from what happens when someone has a brain that malfunctions as well. It's easy for us to question how someone feels or how they handle something when it comes to a malfunction in the brain when you don't understand what it is like to be there. This is the question that we ask ourselves every single day. Why am I getting these thoughts? So when we're hearing that from people who we hope are supporting us, it's not making us feel better. It's making us feel worse because we don't even know. And we're scared and worried about these thoughts. And if other people that we're hoping love us and support us are kind of going, wow, I just don't understand why you get those thoughts, it does not make us feel any better. So what I want to do is, in kind of response to that, I want to talk about some scenarios that might help you understand why someone may have an onset and then can't let go of the thoughts. So just if you have OCD and you're watching this, just so you know, I just pulled random examples out. So I'm not saying that any of these themes, this is how it should, because I know you might go, well, that didn't happen for me, so maybe I don't have OCD. I know us so well. But I wanted to go over 3 or 4 examples of how this can happen to someone, and then how we can get latched onto them And then we start worrying about these things 24/7. It may be helpful as family members for you to hear too that these scenarios are pretty common and people all over the world have these kind of things happen, so it might normalize it a little bit. So in the case of something like the fear of being a pedophile, one of the most common themes that I see when I'm doing peer support with people all over the world, the reason why these thoughts exist, or, well, I can't say the reason why these thoughts exist, so scratch that. But the way that these thoughts might at first manifest could be something as simple as I'm changing the diaper of my new kid, and all of a sudden I have an intrusive thought of, oh my gosh, did I accidentally touch that child's private part? Well, yeah, you're touching the private part because you are cleaning the child. But all of a sudden, when you could have done that every single day and it's not that big of a deal, you think to yourself, well, why did I have that thought? And what does that mean? Did I accidentally do something bad? And then the thought of, oh my gosh, does that mean that I meant to do it? And then all of a sudden this rush over you is, oh my gosh, did I just molest my child? That all of a sudden can spin into, am I a pedophile? Another simple example could be you're playing with nieces or nephews, and all of a sudden you're holding one of your nieces or nephews, or you throw them up in the air or whatever, and then they hug you or they wrap around your leg or something, and they're near an area of your private areas, and you think, oh my gosh, why did that child just get right there? Did I like it? Why did I do that? What does that mean? And then all of a sudden you think, oh my goodness, well, did I want the child to do that? And all of a sudden spins out into these thoughts of, what does that mean? Now I want to remind you that you get intrusive thoughts too. Everyone gets intrusive thoughts. Dr. Stephen Phillipson said everyone gets intrusive thoughts, even some that are really disturbing in nature, but you maybe even might pause about them for a second, but then they just kind of go along and it's not that big of a deal. When someone has OCD, they have these thoughts and they latch onto them as meaning, and then they judge themselves and they have emotion following it. So where something as simple as I accidentally brushed the shoulder, of my little sister, that's not that big of a deal, right? But someone who goes, oh my gosh, did I mean to do that? Did that mean I want to do that? Oh my gosh, why did I want to touch my little sister that way? You're attaching meaning, you're attaching emotion, and then what happens is because you're having this thought, you're communicating to your brain, we are in danger. I feel like something is wrong. I'm scared. And the system in your brain goes on alert and is like, oh my God, if you're in danger, then we need to alert you that there's children everywhere. There's a child over there. There's a child over there. All of a sudden, you're noticing children everywhere where you never saw them before, which we interpret as, oh my gosh, that must mean the thoughts are real. So this is a very simple answer or simple explanation of a very complex issue, but this can go on for days and weeks and months and years for people searching for some answer. Why? Because they had one random thought and then all of a sudden it blew up into something bigger. An example for the fear of turning gay, or if you are gay, turning straight. Some people call it HOCD, some people call it sexual orientation OCD. This is just a theme, it's all OCD. So examples of this might be, for me, I was having a sleepover with a friend and we started talking about sex. And I did not think it was okay to talk about sex at that time because I was having scrupulosity, a whole nother story. And then later on, I all of a sudden started thinking about sex when I was trying to go to sleep, and I pictured my friend with no clothes on. Everybody does this. Everybody pictures people with no clothes on, right? And you go, ugh, why did I do that? And then you move along. Well, I happen to attach meaning to it. I attached emotion. Why would I think that? Oh my gosh, I don't feel that way. That's awful. I don't want to think about that. Well, the moment you don't want to think about something, people, all of a sudden it blows up into you're thinking about it every single day, all day, right? So then all of a sudden it manifests into, oh my gosh, I was seeing boobs everywhere where I never saw boobs before. You're seeing women everywhere, and then you're testing and you're like, why would I think that? Do I think that person's pretty? Oh my God, I think I do. That must mean this. So again, an example of something as simple as having a visual, as something simple as finding out one of your friends has come out of the closet that you didn't know for years and that they were, and you may think, oh my gosh, well, I didn't know that they were gay. Does that mean that I am and I just don't know it? Other things, you could be watching something on TV or watching a lived experience of something, or you could be watching porn and all of a sudden you see gay porn and you think, oh my gosh, I was already aroused and now I feel aroused. So does that mean that I'm aroused by watching gay porn? The same can happen in the opposite direction. Someone who's gay might say, oh my gosh, am I turning straight? Because they may have a visual of the opposite sex as being attractive and then think, oh my gosh, does that mean that my life is a lie? And what do I need to do? And then all of a sudden they start seeing the opposite sex's genitalia everywhere. So it's just this, it's the same thing. It's just the opposite. So this is how HOCD can manifest. And again, it is not like it's something that we can just go, oh, that was just silly. I think that's so hilarious when people are always like, just don't think about it. That's always hilarious to me, because you would think that as logical people that we are, that wouldn't have crossed our mind at some point. Like, just don't think about it. I mean, if that's the first thing you said, then, and you think I'm that stupid that I wouldn't think that first. But I know you can't really understand. I'm not making fun of people that say that. A little bit, but not much. Okay, so let's move along. So scrupulosity is another thing, another example. So someone might have an obsession about whether or not they are doing something morally right, or they want to be a good person. And so or it's something that goes against religion. So have I sold my soul to the devil? Or am I thinking bad thoughts about God? Or if I don't pick up that piece of trash on the ground, does that mean I'm a bad person and I'm ruining, the environment, yada, yada, yada. So just having one thought can all of a sudden call your entire moral compass into question. And again, just like with, the other examples I was mentioning, all of a sudden then it's, oh my gosh, if I don't make sure the stick is off of the ground, and out of the way, does that mean that I leave it there and I'm going to be the cause of someone tripping and falling, and then, the neighborhood catches on fire and the whole world catches on fire and it's all my fault. We can't just let those things go, even though we know it's like, I know the world's not going to burn, but it sure does feel real when I'm making this decision about whether to move a stick. Another one is the fear of schizophrenia, and just like the fear of turning gay, there's anything wrong with that. It's not homophobia the same way. It's not the fear of people who have schizophrenia. It's just this unknown of, am I developing schizophrenia or not? Oftentimes people will read articles or they will watch documentaries about schizophrenia, and then all of a sudden they think, okay, is this something I'm developing? And then all of a sudden they think, I think I just heard something, or I think I just saw something, or am I experiencing psychosis? And then, or it could start with just something as simple as I'm walking out my door over here and I see something that looked like it moved, and I look over and then I go, wait a minute, I know I just saw something. What does that mean? Then the thought enters my brain of, does that mean that I may be developing schizophrenia? So I just wanted to explain those scenarios in a way to help you understand that this isn't just this random thought that pops up and then it's like, oh, that scared me really bad. And then, oh, okay, well, I'm going to go back to what I'm doing and yada, yada, yada. And then, oh, the thought might come up like 4 or 5 days later. No, this fear strikes into us. A good way I can describe it is, have you ever been driving down the road and all of a sudden someone cuts you off and you instinctively swerve to miss it, and you get that feeling, that rush all the way up your body to where you almost get chills, and then it's, you didn't even realize you were acting in the moment and you averted the crash, and then it's like, and then you're coming down and maybe you're shaking and you start to sweat a little bit and you're like, oh my gosh, and you realize what happened. Bottle up that feeling, okay? And drink it like a tonic. and then you look at the bottle and it says, will last 20 years. That's what it feels like. And you probably think that I'm just being dramatic. I'm not. That's what it feels like. We are in fight, flight, freeze, alarm, alert mode all of the time, especially after a thought has hooked. We are there on it all the time, alert, looking around, scared, what's on our radar, I don't know what to do, what if this happens, I don't want to leave the house, I don't want to move. That is what it feels like. So I want to tell you a couple quotes that I've had that people say often. I wrote these quotes down specifically because I hear them over and over and over, and I have said them myself. We are being tormented even though we look like we're put together and the world has no idea what's going on in our brain. I'm getting beat up by my brain every single day, and I still have to put a smile on my face. I feel like I live in a mental prison and I have no idea how to escape. This is the most isolating illness. I can't imagine anything else that makes me feel so alone. And finally, and what's the most tormenting, is that this illness feels so real that I just can't believe that it's actually a mental illness and the thoughts can't be a reality. I hope that clears up that first question. The second is, I don't understand why you say it's so bad when I see you daily and you seem fine. I have a really easy and simple answer for that. We can dig back into what I was just saying, like you're in fight, flight, or freeze mode. But typically when we hook onto these scary thoughts, we are so terrified that they're real, but we're also really terrified if you think they're real. So we don't want anyone to know. This answer, as simple as it can be, is also so complex. We don't want anyone to think that we really believe these things or that these things are really who we are. We actually don't believe it's who we are. I know there are some OCD people that are going to hear that and then you're going to freak out and you're going to go, I know, but I really do think that it's real. So just hear me out. I'm not going to be all reassurancy here, but just so you know, I hear you. Don't read into it. We are so terrified that if we say it out loud, that means it's real. We are so terrified if we tell you, you're going to question us about whether it's real. We're so terrified that at some point we are going to find out it's real. So how long can we keep it to ourselves? And we don't want the world to think that we are this horrible monster that we believe we are for having the thoughts. So the best thing is everything's great. Life is awesome. And in fact, many of us create lives that you would never know. We're suffering all the time. I did for 12 years, and I even do it now, where nobody knows when I'm suffering. I could be doing it right now, and you wouldn't even know. I could be having obsessions about you, and you wouldn't know. But I think that comes along with the territory of OCD, especially when you have mental rituals. There's also this driving nature in us to be like, I don't want anyone to know. And a lot of that is, I'm just going to manage this until I can't manage it anymore. And that is so unfair, isn't it? It's so undeserving of you and your worth. I can see myself going off on a tangent and I need to stay focused. But I want, if you're a loved one and you're listening to this, I want you to hear that people, especially with the mental ritual piece, we want to hide it from you out of fear. We want the world, we're hiding it from the world out of fear. We wish we could hide it from ourselves out of fear. So it doesn't matter if someone is suffering with OCD and you've spent the entire day with them and they seem normal, you may not see the subtle signs that someone's over in the corner and they're not talking for a minute, or they're gritting their teeth, or they're all of a sudden seem like they need to get up and move around, or you're in an area and they need to get out and get some space. You may not even see the little bitty signs that they're suffering so tremendously because we become experts at hiding it. So that's why the question, I don't understand why you say it's so bad when you seem fine. We are trying to make you think everything is fine. We also don't want to be a burden. And we also lots of times don't believe that we're deserving of the term trauma, which is bullshit, by the way. And y'all know I've done many videos that say that, like, OCD is traumatic. If someone came into your house and beat the shit out of you every day for years, you would be like, I've experienced some trauma because somebody beat the shit out of me. Well, you know what? Welcome to OCD, because you're beating yourself up every day, all day. So it's trauma. Stop saying that you're not worthy of the label trauma. It's traumatic. So there you go. The end. The end. That's the answer. I do want to emphasize this. What people often think, and especially with this question of, I see you every day and it seems fine, is that to grasp what OCD is very difficult if you don't experience it. The same way I said earlier, I can't grasp what it's like to have diabetes unless I have diabetes. I cannot understand it. I can't understand what people with cancer go through because I've never had it. But what we often hear is, oh, you just have a few intrusive thoughts, you know, and that must be awful, but you know, everybody has intrusive thoughts. We are dealing with it 24/7. If I had the clap emoji right now, I would do that all the way across. We are dealing with it 24/7. So that's how we've perfected being actors. You don't end your work day with OCD and come home and put your feet up and all of a sudden it's like, I'm gonna get a cocktail and a break. You don't. OCD comes home with you, OCD eats dinner with you, OCD takes a shower with you and exercises with you and goes to bed with you. It does not stop. But we have become such experts of hiding it from you that you don't know and you don't see. Now, I am also saying this because don't check in with people every 5 minutes saying, how's your OCD? Never. Let's not do that either. I just want you to understand that what you may be seeing is a farce. People are just putting on a show, and if they're telling you they're tormented and that they're dealing with this all the time, even though you don't see it, believe them. Coming from someone who in an OCD cycle, it is 24/7, but I can still maintain life. It is a reality. Okay, I'm going to move forward because, you know, man, I have like 8,000 tangents I can go on. I'm not going to. Stay focused. Okay. So the third question says, it doesn't seem like it would be so bad. Just don't think about it and just don't give it meaning. I want to segue this into some of the things I've written down here. If you are supporting with someone with OCD, if you want to understand, or if you're interacting with someone who has OCD, I'm going to tell you some non-helpful things that seem like a natural response that you might say that totally either freak us out, offend us, hurt us, or make things worse for us. So then I'm going to give you an alternative of what might be better or more helpful. If my suggestion doesn't work, or some version of my suggestion, ask the person that you are supporting, what can I say that's supportive? What can I stop saying that's not supportive? And then the key is listen to them and apply it. I have great people in my life that I can say, please do not say this. This makes things worse. And they are like, absolutely, because I want to respect boundaries and I want you to feel better. What is it I can say that will help? That's the kind of interaction you want with someone when you're dealing with a major mental illness like OCD. Okay. First non-helpful thing. Everybody always says this, oh, just don't worry about it. I know you think you're being helpful, but that is a given response, right? To anybody and anything in the world when someone's worrying, oh, just don't worry about it. Well, it's also a very non-trauma informed response ever. If someone's worried about something, why wouldn't you validate them? How does it feel when you're really stressed or worried? And that's a good rule of thumb. If you're saying something to someone, think about how it would feel if someone said that back to you. I'm worried about this. Oh, just don't worry about it. Okay. Well, thank you for validating how much that, how much my feelings matter. And with OCD, you take it on a deeper level because we already know we don't want to worry about it. We already know it's silly and stupid and we don't know why we're thinking about it. So then it's almost like, oh my God, I am silly and stupid. And I do have reason to believe that I'm going nuts. So just don't worry about it. If you catch yourself wanting to say this or just thinking of how you want someone to not worry about it, maybe instead say, wow, I can't imagine what it would feel like to have to worry about that all day, every day. So you may think, I'm not being helpful at all. I'm just like telling them that they're suffering. No, you are not. What you're doing is saying, I am listening. I hear you. And I cannot imagine what you're going through. And so that right there shows us, oh my God, somebody is at least recognizing what I'm dealing with all day, every day, and empathizing. That response in itself makes us feel like we can sink in our skin a little bit and feel like, okay, this is real. I am validated. Another human being is validating my torment and trauma. The next thing, just get some sleep. Just get some exercise. People, when it comes to mental health, just stop. Don't say stuff like that already. Now, exercise and sleep, great coping skill. Awesome. I'm not denying that. So don't come onto the comment section being like, exercise helps me. I get it, right? But exercise and sleep is not a solution to a major mental illness. If someone has the flu, are you going to be like, just go get some exercise? No, you're not. No one would say that. So stop saying it to people about brain health already. One of the things you can say, even if you feel like it's going to help you if you get up and out of the house, which I agree with. I have coping skills. It's hard on some days when I'm suffering with OCD, and sometimes it's helpful when Sean David, my fiance, when he says, are you going to go out and, for a run today? Or are you going to go out and work out? He's not saying, go for a run, it'll all be better. He's saying, how can I help you with the coping skills? So what I wrote down is ask that person, what are some things that you can do to help cope with what you're feeling right now? So if you know someone you love is having a bad day, instead of telling them what you think they should do, ask them what they can do. For some people, it might be, I can go to the grocery store today and get some food and come home. And that might be enough to make them feel confident that the next day they may be able to go out and do something for a longer period of time. Remember, don't tell people what they should do. Ask them what they can do and encourage that coping skill. This is the best. Well, I get those thoughts too, and I just don't worry about them. I have a little OCD too. Y'all, I could go off on this for 30 minutes. You know this, but I'm not going to. This is like a lesson in trauma-informed care. Don't meet somebody else's trauma and overpower them with your experience. Like, it's the most invalidating, let's just put you in a corner because you don't matter because the only thing that matters is me. Let's not do that when someone's suffering with OCD or any major mental illness or any major thing that's suffering in general. If people are opening up to you and they need your support, they don't care what you've been through. They do, but they don't want you to overshadow what they're dealing with in the moment. And that may be a little harsh for you to hear, sorry, but the reality is in trauma-informed care, you want to give people, the platform to be able to express their trauma and to be validated for it. And OCD is no exception. And oftentimes, OCD gets trivialized to the point where everybody thinks they have a little OCD, everybody has this and that. We get tired of it. And in all honesty, that's why people suffer for so long. Because you would rather say, I'm a little OCD, than take a hot second and and say to somebody, wow, I didn't realize you went through this, or I didn't realize this is how OCD was. A good response to this, instead of, I get those thoughts too, just get over it, or I'm a little OCD too, is, I have had irrational thoughts before as well. I didn't realize they could be as tormenting as what you're experiencing. So here's the thing. Maybe you have had them and they're that tormenting, but you ain't the one right there asking for help. That person is. Put them in the spotlight. Give them the support they need in the moment. They may need your lived experience a little later, but in the moment, people need to know that you're listening and that you're there and validating that experience for them. Okay, here are the last two. I'm gonna lump these two in together. Things you never say to people when they are expressing OCD and intrusive thoughts ever, okay? And I don't even have a response to it, because my response is never freaking say this to someone who's telling you they have OCD intrusive thoughts. Well, do you really think you are? Do you really think you'd do that? Do you really think that you're capable of that? Or, what kind of person would think those things? Why would you ever dwell on something like that? Ugh. I mean, you must be an awful person to think those things. I don't even have a response to that except for you need to go get therapy. That's my response to that. If that's your response, you need some help too. That's all I have to say. Don't say that shit to people who are suffering. We don't need to hear it. And maybe you don't know, and maybe that is your initial response, and that's fine, but keep it to yourself and go get some education, because it's not nice. It's not nice. That's all I have to say about that. The last thing that I have to say is, it is difficult supporting someone who lives with OCD. Okay, I know this. I know it's difficult for Sean at times. I know it's been difficult for people in my life. I've lost relationships because of OCD. I know that this impacts a family. This impacts relationships, but a lot of things impact relationships. And we don't have to make OCD the forefront of why things can't work. There are ways to learn how to work with people and support people and give of yourself to be there for people. I don't want you to think that I'm skirting over it and saying it's this simple, okay? So please don't hear me say that. But what I'm saying is that OCD comes across sometimes as this not so serious illness that if people would just realize their thoughts weren't a big deal and just go right into therapy and get over it, everything would be good. It is not that easy. And a lot of what helps people in getting the courage to do therapy or the courage to talk to someone about what they're experiencing, because they are so afraid every day, all day. Remember, this is a 24/7 illness where we are getting beat up and traumatized every day by our own brains. What can really help people is, and I kind of came up with an acronym, it's kind of cheesy, but I want you to remember this. It's in order to save lives, and I want you to know too, people die from this illness. They do. And it's scary, I know, as a family member, because that's not what you want for who you love. And we don't want that either. When I attempted suicide, I did not want to die. I love my life, but I could not manage an illness that had been tormenting me for this long. And now what I've implemented in my life are people that practice what I have put the acronym as SAVE. And you can remember this, like you can save a life by implementing this. S, support. Support is being there for somebody and making it about them and what they need in the moment. Meeting them where they're at. What do you need? What can I do? Listening to what they need and doing that for them, and honoring and respecting what they're saying you can do for them. That's S. And then A, acceptance. Acceptance that this is OCD. You may not understand why your loved one worries about being a pedophile all day. You may not understand why your partner is worried about whether or not they're going to turn gay, or if your partner is gay, whether they're going to turn straight. And you may take that personally and think, I don't understand. Is this about me? Is this yada, yada, yada? Do the research. Accept that this is part of the illness. We can't help it. We can't stop it. So your acceptance is going to help us acceptance. Help us accept it. Because we're going to have enough problem anyway. And when we know we have people that accept it and believe it, it helps us have the courage to be able to say, okay, then now we can do something about it. Validation. So SAV, validation. Oh my gosh, I cannot express the importance of validation. And that validation is, I believe you. I believe you in what you're telling me, which is typically going to be fear versus desire. And I believe that this causes so much pain for you. I believe you are that tormented. And then go right back to support and acceptance. Validation is so huge when it comes to OCD, because we're so scared and we're full of doubt all the time, that if we can have one person believe in us and believe us, it can make all of the difference. And lastly, SAVE. E is empathy. You are not going to understand fully what it's like to live in an OCD brain. I get that. People get that. But I know it's hard, because it really just does feel like, because your brain works differently, to go, oh my God, just don't think about these thoughts. Oh my gosh, it's going to be okay. You can't get it. But you can empathize. There's enough literature out there. There's enough lived experience stories. There's enough videos out there like this where you can look and say, this is a real thing and my loved one is suffering. I may not understand it, but I sure as hell can meet them where they're at, and I can do my best to get in their shoes and be there for them. So SAVE, SAVE, support, accept, validate, and empathize. Big, big, big keys to supporting your loved ones with OCD, and helping to give them the love, encouragement, and oftentimes the courage to go and seek that help. I do want to disclaimer this, and then I'm going to go. I know I've been on here for a while, but I think this is such an important topic. I know it's difficult supporting someone with OCD. I know it because I do it as someone with OCD. This is my job. I work with people doing peer support, and it's hard and it hurts. And it's hard to watch someone suffer when they won't get help. That's hard too. But I don't ever want you to underestimate the power that you have in just meeting people where they're at, and just sometimes being someone that can listen and love them anyway. And just telling them that they still matter, regardless of what they're dealing with. Couple resources for you. Definitely John Hirschfield's book, When a Family Member Has OCD. Even if this person isn't your family, it's going to be a great read to give you a lot of information on how to adjust some of your behaviors in order to not make their symptoms worse, but in a way turn it around and help support them when they're suffering. Definitely you want to go to intrusivethoughts.org. Aaron Harvey's website. This website has so much information about all the different types of themes and how OCD can manifest in therapist perspectives. Again, John Hirschfield's OCDbaltimore.com, lots of great articles, OCDLA.com, OCDonline.com. All of these places can give you knowledge and understanding. And, I also would encourage you, if you really want to help, you can also book in with an OCD therapist and talk to them about how to support a loved one. And you can, ask if it's okay with your loved one. Can I go to a session with you so I can learn a little bit more? Anything that you can do to help normalize their experience and know that they're not alone. I hope this video was helpful. I know I got a little harsh on a couple things. Sorry, but sometimes I'm just going to be honest with you. It's really hard for me to hear the things that I hear from people worldwide that are suffering, that their suffering was made worse because people just were unwilling to believe them or to take the time to understand. And I know that I need to be more trauma informed about why people aren't understanding, but I'm a bit protective too of my community. So I hope that you'll understand where I'm coming from there. Anyway, thanks for taking the time to listen. I hope that this was helpful. And if you want to know more about me, or if you'd like to schedule an appointment for peer support, I also work with families, just so you know, just to support them and help normalize and talk about my own experience, which can really help in how you're supporting a loved one as well. ChrissyHodges.com or ocd.chrissy@gmail.com. So again, thank you for taking the time to listen, and I look forward to seeing you next time.